DeLuna Coffee has been fueling Florida and beyond since 2014, and now wake up Warchant. DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. When not roasting the perfect coffee blends, these FSU diehards can be found tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Go and set your sights on their Lighthouse blend. Made of 5 different coffee origins, a combination of light and medium roasted beans creates this wonderful cup of premium coffee. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. The Warchant bundle. Explore that, y'all. Just like our guy Daryl. Get it? Give some of the coffee to your sister, your sibling, whatever, relative. Keep the tumbler for yourself. It's $40. You get one Wake Up Warchant tumbler, obviously. You get a bag of White Sands coffee. You can get that ground however you would like, or the whole bean, and a tin of chocolate-covered sea salt caramels. Speaking of tins, all Blue Angels chocolate tins are BOGO. Corey, you know what that means, right? Buy one, get one free. You know that. You know that parlance.
Shouldn't it be BOGOF?
Ooh, okay.
Right? I mean, it's buy one, get one what? You got to explain. Yeah, you could buy one and get one. That's how everything works. I buy something, I get it. Buy one, get one free. That's more I just think BOGOF is the way that should be the way that should be phrased.
All right. Well, that promo code's BOGO Candy. You can use the WarChant 15 promo code for anything else you like on their website. Hope you like our website. Gene Williams founded it. He now administrates over it, provides photos, analysis, everything. It's called warchant.com. You may have heard of it. Promo code's WARCHANT30. Hit the thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be one of these thousands of people, literally, that have joined our YouTube page. Subscribe to it. You'll enjoy it. Also, 5-star rating and review would be very much appreciated. Corey Clark, other than BOGOs not being the way you want them to be written out and marketed, how are you?
You know, I'm good, Aslan. I got some news. People know, if you were wondering about my my little procedure that I had a couple of days ago.
That
turns
fast?
out I've got carcinoma, which is a fancy way of saying skin cancer, but it's not the worst of the kind you can get, and they seem very, very positive that they caught it in time. It's a small little thing on the top of my nose. I've got another procedure scheduled in about a month to go in and get all the if there's any cancer left, get it all out of there. So that's where we're at, buddy. That's where we're at. But, it's kind of what I thought it would be. I didn't understand what else it could be. And yeah, the guy apparently it has about 100% survival rate if you catch it in time. And,
right,
the guy seems to think my man, Brandon, I shouldn't just call him the guy, seems to think we definitely caught it in time.
All right. Well, all right. That was a roller coaster I wasn't prepared for.
Right. Well, I didn't want to give you I wanted you to have a natural reaction on the air. We're all in this together, folks. We're all in this together.
Well, shout out. Did you catch it, or did Stephanie notice it and make you go get it checked out?
Well, Stephanie made me go get it checked out. I did notice it. I just figured it would go away, and it just never would. And it would come and go. It's a weird little thing. Like, it would flare up and be a little brighter than normal, and then it would go almost away, and then it would look like a scab, and then it would almost go away. And so when I went on Tuesday, that's what he said. Is like, yeah, they don't. It's usually not bad. It's usually a good sign when they don't get worse. When they start disappearing. And so I guess theoretically technically it was a good sign because they caught it so early, and it doesn't seem to have maybe spread anywhere else.
Metastasize, is that the word they use?
I don't know. Skin cancer is such a weird. It's so common apparently. Like he was even saying, like there'll be, when I'm waiting to get mine on September 20th, my surgery, there'll be like 8 to 10 to 12 other people waiting to get theirs at the exact same time. It's just very, very common. So yeah, he put me at ease, and so we'll get it done. I guess I got to start wearing more sunscreen.
Now I'm like auditing every blemish that's been on my face over the last few years. Like, has it been there? Has it gone back and come back? How many times has it gone and come back? But all right, well, I'm glad God, what a good attitude to have, Corey. I don't know. If I heard the C word, I'd be freaked out. But you're strong, man. Strong. Mill Creek, Buford.
Yeah. Well, that's how I was raised, man. I was raised on Jimmy Carter. I had no choice. You have to be strong on Jimmy Carter Boulevard. You know that. JCB for life.
No doubt.
So, but no, I kind of thought it was something like that. And skin cancer can be, it's all serious, I guess, but it certainly can be treated very, very simply. And so in that way, and it's not a melanoma, I feel like I got lucky in that sense. It could have been worse, I guess. So that's the attitude I'm choosing to take.
Minor setback for major comeback. This is all going to be part of the narrative, the 30 for 30 on the Florida State National Championship winning 2021 football team. It's all going to start with you at your typewriter, just like, your typewriter. I said typewriter.
My typewriter, that's right.
Yeah,
yeah because this is 1986, isn't it?
Hammering out a story. It's going to be part of the entire story arc, man.
Probably will. They'll probably, that's probably what people will care about the most.
Okay, they will, and right behind it, far, far behind it, what they'll care about is quarterback play from practice on August 19th, 2021, Corey. So I don't know if you checked out the website that you were employed for, that you
I did
have equity with. What was your first reaction, I guess, when you saw that one of the two guys that you would assume are battling for this, vying for the honor of being the starting quarterback of Florida State returned? Or did I just blow the cover? Am I not allowed to say that he returned? Did I screw that up?
Well, I don't know. He was back out there throwing passes, getting a lot of reps.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good sign, right? Yeah. And, I talked to Ira a little bit after the practice, and he said it was the best he's looked this fall camp. So that's good, right?
He being Mackenzie Milton. Yes.
Correct. Yes.
It's funny because we posted the early portions of practice that they allow us to film. Ira's like, hey, man, Mackenzie's out here throwing. People are probably interested. I'm like, you're right. Let me go ahead and upload it. And I uploaded it, and I thought people would be excited. Like, all right, one of the guys that we're relying on is back out here. Maybe he's been out there the whole time, everybody. Maybe I'm just throwing you all for a loop. Hear that, Brian Kelly? You don't know. You don't know. And it wasn't maybe the best of performances in the early periods, and everybody started panicking in the thread. And I'm like, hey, chill out. Because he looked quite good. He probably did look the best we've seen him outside of the spring football game towards the end of practice. They moved into the IPF probably the last 10 periods, maybe give or take one or two. And I don't know, part of it, some people think might be to give them a little bit of a respite from the heat, which is brutal out here. But I think it's because it's louder. There's a different intensity when you're in the IPF, believe it or not. People might think that sounds crazy. I think about the first game I ever saw in a dome. I don't know if you remember the first football game you've ever saw in a dome, Court, but for me, it was actually that 2002 Sugar Bowl against Georgia. And it was so weird to me. I'm like, man, this feels like a completely different sport almost when it's played indoors. It's like you're on a stage, the lights are directly on you. I mean, I know that's how it works even in an outdoor stadium, but, it's open. And it was a completely different sort of urgency and intensity, I thought. That Sugar Bowl game I watched, and then when they practice in the IPF, the music's playing, which is always playing during 11 on 11. No, I don't like it, but hey, it's only for a few periods of the day. But they're in the IPF. They're hooting and hollering on the offensive side of the sideline and the defensive sideline. They're doing the money sign. They're holding up the placards. It's a really intense. It's about as intense of an environment you can create, I think, on a practice field. And man, this I think sums up what this team is right now, Corey. I jotted down every single play in this drive that he had. First play for Milton, beautifully thrown vertical route to Keyshawn Helton, who made an even better catch, totally sprawled out diving and caught it. Next play, I'm not going to specify what it was, but it wasn't a conventional pass or run play. It was a little bit of a wrinkle. It was a little bit of a creative play call, if you will, but it didn't go for anything. But I like their mindset here. Then after that, the defense calls a timeout. So the defense just had to stop pretty much. It was pretty much a gain of nothing on that play after the Helton catch. Defense calls a timeout. Coming out of the timeout, they go incomplete, delay of game, false start. And you're like, what's going on here? Now I think it's like 3rd and 20 maybe, 3rd and 15 or so. Touchdown. Pokey Wilson just beat his man. Speed. Mackenzie nailed him, just perfectly thrown ball. I'm like, and you know what? That, my friends, is what a team that's probably going to win somewhere in the ballpark of 4 to 8 games looks like. Like you go incomplete, delay of game, and then a false start after the delay of game. But if one of these quarterbacks, if the one quarterback can find his old form, if the other quarterback can get healthy and build off what he did in 2020 in the spring, you might mess around and be on the higher end of that margin. But that drive was kind of, oddly enough, the best we've seen, I think, Milton outside of the spring game. And I was encouraged by it because the way it ended. There was a little bit of roughness in there, but it was a good sandwich. Had really good bread. First play, last play were gorgeous.
Well, and I think it's encouraging, man, that number one, that McKenzie's taking reps. That should encourage everyone listening to this show that we're paying attention to what we were saying the last couple of days, but also that he looked the way he looked. Because I'll be honest with you, man, like I said in yesterday's show, the way I felt through the first 8-10 days of this camp is like, okay, Jordan Travis is the guy. And again, this is just one person's opinion, and I ain't a football coach, but it didn't even look all that particularly close from what I could tell. For Milton to make some throws that like, okay, that's still in there. That's still the guy that we saw in the spring game, the guy we saw 3 years ago. That's still in there because I saw some of, you got to film one drive probably in 11 on 11. Yeah. So he had a couple He had a couple plays over the middle where it's like that's where the great quarterbacks live, man, is in the middle of the field. And he got all. It looked like he was getting it out pretty quickly on time, in stride, in rhythm. Man, that's good to see. They were good throws, but they were also quick throws, and they were in rhythm throws, and that's what McKenzie Milton is. And so that's good, man. That's no matter who the starting quarterback is, you want a solid McKenzie Milton. If he's not starting to be a viable backup. And I'll be honest with you, there were some times we watched him early on where you're like, okay, is that viable? But it sounds like, and you were there, but watching the film and then hearing you and Ira talk about it, it sounds more than viable. It sounds like, okay, McKenzie's got himself a chance now. He's still got 2.5 weeks left until the game. Maybe this is where he turns it on and wrestles the job away.
It could be.
But either way, he gives them having a good McKenzie Milton obviously gives you a better chance of winning on that higher end of that window we give them. Whether you say it's 4-8 or 3-7, wherever you want that window of wins to be, having a good McKenzie Milton clearly pushes that. Your odds are better that you'll end up on the high end of that those possibilities.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere too. That's the thing. I mean, to your point, like listen, I don't think Jordan's looked great. I just think McKenzie has not looked very well at all, and so by default, Jordan's had to look better. Like today, seeing the way that McKenzie played, and it kind of to me came out of nowhere, and then you start realizing, man, we're only 11 days into camp. They still have another 11 days of preseason camp or thereabout, and then they've got the entire week of Notre Dame game prep week, like your standard game week preparation. And if for a guy like that, it's not out of the realm of possibility to kind of start dialing in and finding some of your old mojo. I mean, this isn't a true freshman. This is a guy that's, he's got plenty of experience under his belt. You can start tapping into some of these things, especially if you feel like your body's right, especially if the workload management is kind of paying favors to you and you're able to, lick your wounds and be fine when you're out there. Like when he was walking off the field, we're interviewing players and coaches, and, he's walking off the field with a big old smile on his face, and he's walking by all of us in the meeting. He's like, what's going on, everybody? He's like, good to see you guys. Like with this big Cheshire grin on his face, and it's like either A, he is just feeling great and like, hey, man, I still got it. Or B, he's like laughing at all of us in the media for writing his obituary early for him, not maybe performing or being available as quickly as we thought he was going to be. So pick one of those from the column, but nonetheless, your quarterback is walking out of there with a little bit of swag. But Norvell said afterwards, like, I felt we got better today. I agree. That practice started off rough, and it got better as it went on, and you walked off that field thinking, all right, man, they're figuring things out. They still have time to get other things buttoned up. In the first part of practice, I didn't show it. There was a little bit of a skirmish between an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman. Won't say their name. I don't even know if I'm allowed to tell you this, everybody, but I am. Welcome to the podcast. And they immediately had to do 20 up downs. The entire football team, Corey. They stopped 11 on 11, stopped it, turned the music off. Everybody, up downs. Everybody count out loud. Can't hear you. Say it louder. 5. I can't hear you. 6. Say it again. I mean, they did 20 up downs. and then they got to practice. And again, you saw some of those plays on the 11-on-11 didn't maybe end as great as you thought it was. But again, those were the first few periods. Practice special teams heavy. They look quite sharp in that. Alex Mastromano is a weapon. I mean, Norvell said it the other day. The guy's a weapon. He's really kicking the heck out of the ball. He's punting quite well. And then they finish off with a good 11-on-11. So I feel pretty good right now, Corey. I am enthusiastic. I am encouraged by these signs of life. And again, the amount of time they have left to get it right. It's not beyond the realm of possibility to get right in 2 weeks, I don't think.
And I think when people hear the thing about the skirmishes, look, yeah, we won't give you the names of the people that are but it's a football practice, right? That's not a surprise.
Yeah.
It's a physical, it's competitive, it's a lot of type A dudes that are playing to the whistle or the echo of the whistle, and things can get a little chippy. That happens at every camp in the country. Legitimately, pick one. It's happening in high schools. It's happening probably at middle school practice, certainly at college and NFL practice. It's just part of the sport. But what I like about it is you don't want them to take away the nastiness even. It's okay to have a healthy dislike for the guy across from you in the moment on the field. Who knows? Well, I've seen it personally. When Jimbo would open up the practice for one day a year, Jalen Ramsey tried to end Carlos Williams' career. I mean, he knocked the bejesus out of him on a blitz with the sole intent of doing damage. He was that mad. That happens. But I think that's good for the team to have that kind of spirit and that kind of competitiveness because it just gets more so in a game. It's good preparation. But also, I like you don't want to temper that too much. I think it's a good sign. Can you imagine what they used to be in the 90s? Can you imagine what I wish I would and they were open. We could get people on to talk about what those practices were like, but those were all out wars with Mickey screaming at Mark Richt and the DB screaming at the wide receivers, even back to 13 with Jameis talking to everybody on the defense, like Jameis and Telvin and LaMarcus going back and forth. That happened all the time. I think that's good for the team to have that kind of fight, but the overall point remains, quit doing that stuff where you're going to get a penalty. And so I like both. I like the fact that they're a little ornery. That's what you want in a football team. I mean, you just want it. Not when you're down by 50 points. That's not the time. You want a little competitiveness, of what for, some fight. But at the same time, Norvell's right. You got to know when enough is enough because you don't want to get a stupid penalty. The dumbest penalty they got all of last season, and heaven knows it's a big competition, was the Dante Lucas one at the goal line when you're about to go up. What were you about to go up? 38-7 against North Carolina?
I don't even remember.
And
I remember that one. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, you're second and goal at the 1-inch line, and you're about to go in to make it 38-7. The first drive of the second half, you get a 15-yard penalty and make it second and goal from the 16. You end up missing the kick. You don't score the rest of the half. It almost costs you the only good win you had all season. You have to get that out of them. But at the same time, you do want a little fight, a little animosity. You just do. That's what the sport is. And Norvell's a guy that wants a physical football team. And when you're trying to promote physicality, sometimes, the emotions get the best of you. But I like that there's instant punishment for it, too. That makes sense, right?
Absolutely. And both him and Atkins, Norvell and Atkins, both talked about keeping poise and how important that is. Neither were down on their team, though. To your point, it's part of the culture of this sport. It's competitive dudes. Part of it's good. You just got to learn how to dial it in. Again, and we're 2 weeks. You can get these, you can work these things out. That's the kind of stuff that, you can work out. So I feel good about it. Otherwise, emptying out the notebook, a lot of notes, but I put check marks next to some things, but some of them are a little bit downers, so I don't want to put downers on here. Shyheim Brown, 2 picks in 11-on-11. And, I will qualify by saying he's not like climbing the ladder or snatching. These aren't like Terrell Buckley-esque, like picturesque interceptions. These are like balls being thrown across your body into the center of the field, but he's catching it, man. It's it's going to count all the same when they throw it. No one's going to qualify the quality of your interception. But I don't want people to think that he's some sort of like he's just ball hawking everybody. But he's finding the right spots and he's making plays when he's in there.
And for the people that are curious, not that we give too much information about this kind of stuff, neither one of the interceptions were thrown by Mackenzie Milton.
Correct.
So anyway, go ahead.
That is correct. And then, I don't know, would this be the 5th day in a row then? Kentron Portier with a beautiful catch down the sideline, gets his toes in, and there was a flag on the play for defensive pass interference. So that was my standout. If we were doing a Zaxby's indescribably good play of the day, it would have probably been that catch. No, it probably would have been, I don't know, man. Keyshawn went full stretch, like full extension on that play that sparked that last 11 on 11 rally for McKenzie in that offense I was running out there. But yeah, I mean, that Portier's another guy that keeps stringing together days where he's putting plays together. So that's another encouraging sign.
He's stacking them together. That's like 6 or 7 in a row. Man, just start putting that stuff. When you start stacking it up, man, I think we'll see. You can't predict things like this necessarily, but it feels like he's working himself into the rotation. Like, we'll see what Parchment ends up being once he's back out there fully, 100%, go every time, getting all the reps. We'll see what he is. But, man, you like what you've seen out of Kentron. And I don't know if it was, maybe being with the second group those first 3 days. Maybe that was the wake-up call he needed because, he wasn't the best of Williamson was better in those second sessions where I know he says it wasn't, but it was mainly broken up kind of by depth chart. Portier was running with, not the guys that are probably going to be doing a lot of the starting. So maybe that was the wake-up call he needed, but man, it seems like he's the guy that's been, at least from what we've seen, we didn't get to see the scrimmage, but from what we've seen, he's a guy that's been, he and Helton and Pokey have been by far the 3 best. And you got to figure that Kentron's got himself a chance to play a lot in 2021.
Yeah, Malik McLean's in there too, but just again, I'm not going to – he caught a pass. I just don't want to talk about everybody that caught a pass. It just we're going quality over quantity with the observations.
I think Malik McLean is like – I think more people came into this season even though he's a true freshman, expecting something out of him. You know what I mean? Like, okay, he's definitely going to play.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seemed like Portier was kind of like a forgotten dude a little bit. And he's kind of like waving the flag, like, nope, don't forget about me. I'm still here. And this last week has been, really impressive.
So this is our Renegade Express edition of the program, Corey. I posted it really super late, and I'm like, we'll probably get 1 or 2 questions, but we got like 9 of them. We'll probably move this into – I will start posting the thread on Mondays, and we'll record on Tuesday for our Wednesday show when we get into football season. And then we'll be live Wednesdays, and that'll be our Thursday show. But anyhow, nonetheless, we begin. Noles 6. Wake up! What's up, fellas? Man, McKenzie Milton made a miraculous recovery. Glad to see him back at practice. I think the starter controversy of who starts is a moot point. Shout out for spelling it correctly. I think it comes down to who finishes games and the season. Also, I think we'll use both quarterbacks in this offense. So to me, the starting quarterback thing isn't really a thing. What say you, gents? I mean, we've said it though, right? Like if McKenzie starts, Jordan's gonna still probably find opportunities to and be involved in the offense. But if Jordan were to start, I don't know what kind of package you've put in for McKenzie Milton. I think it does matter, man, because if you beat Notre Dame, it's going to be the offense probably that's going to carry the day. It just feels like that. It's that part of, this is the era of college football we live in. Whoever scores last, whoever's got the ball last almost seems to win football games. So, yeah, man, it doesn't matter for us, I would say. We want the best product out there, everybody. But if you're a family member, if you have a rooting interest in one of these guys, I think who starts is still a thing. I don't think it's like a total democracy. Like, we're gonna get everybody involved. No, man, the quarterback, if one of these guys can win the game against Notre Dame, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you go out and that, I assume he wouldn't have said the same thing before the 2013 season, right? Like,
right.
He'd have a difference. It certainly mattered whether Jameis Winston started or Jacob Coker started. So I think the reasoning behind the question is because they're pretty much, we view them as almost equal, even.
Yes. Correct.
With that in mind, sure, but it's the whole. Again, I can't wait to see how it plays out. Their skill sets are so different. You guys know how I feel about Jordan Travis as a dual threat guy who can throw well enough, in my opinion, especially if he's got good people around him. But then Mackenzie Milton's a former Heisman candidate. It's won 20-something games in a row. So it really is a unique quarterback competition. One of the more unique probably in college football history, again, when you consider there's 4 dudes on this roster that have started college football games. So, it's going to be interesting to see. But I also think we all agree that both of them will play this year. Both of them will probably. I would not be stunned if they both played in the opener. Like you're going to need both of them to have the season you want. I think. I don't foresee one of them. I guess I would say this: if one of them is going to wrestle the job away and just say, "This is mine. We're riding on my shoulders," for whatever reason, I tend to think that would be Mackenzie. I think he's the one that could wrestle the job away for sure. The deal with Travis is if he has a couple of bad series in a row or 3 series in a row, you might feel like, okay, I know he didn't win the job, but man, Mackenzie's got a little magic to him. Let's see if he can get this thing jump started. Let's put him in the game and see if he can make some magic happen that Jordan hasn't been able to. I think that will always be there when Jordan Travis is on the field and if he has a bad quarter or like 2 or 3 bad series in a row. You don't have a lot of backup quarterbacks that have done what Mackenzie Milton has done in their college careers. In fact, I don't know if there's ever been a backup quarterback that's amassed 90 touchdowns and 9,200 yards of total offense and then didn't play his last year that he was eligible. Just not out of injury, just was on the sideline. So that's all. Don't you think that'll always be in the back of Dillingham and Norvell's minds? Like, if one of them's not going well, okay, sure. We got it. Let's get in the other one quick. Let's get to the other one sooner rather than later and see if they can jumpstart it.
I would think so, although, I mean, they showed kind of a willingness to ride with James Blackman throughout that Georgia Tech game, but I guess that's because, Jordan really wasn't.
No options, right?
Yeah.
Chuba wasn't an option, and they didn't think Jordan Travis was an option either.
Yeah, so your point is right, though, Noel 6 and Corey, you mentioned it, obviously these guys both will be playing at some point in the season, we think, but it does come down to who finishes the games in the season. So it is going to be kind of like, it's going to be a battle of attrition. Like whoever can make himself available is going to be the most valuable person to this team. And in a related note, I would say, I know a lot of us, and it accurately believe that when things break down, Jordan's probably your better option because he's just so fast and quick and just elusive. It's crazy. But it's with his legs. Like Mackenzie, when things break down, it's with his arm. Like he scrambles and throws off crazy platforms and different angles. So I still think Jordan's more valuable when things do break down, but let's not pretend that like Mackenzie needs a perfectly functioning offensive line to be at his best because he was out there improvising and scrambling and making things happen. So they both. He's
not a statue.
Yeah.
None of them are statues. Rodemaker can move too. Travis is the most elite of those runners, and I think maybe like to your point, say Mackenzie wins the job and he just has no time to throw. They just can't block it up. It's not his fault. But at some point, if you're not moving the ball, say against, just pick one, Boston College, because their defensive line is kind of dominating your offensive line in pass pro. He doesn't have time to throw. Well, at some point, you say, okay, well, let's give them something to deal with. Why don't they go chase this guy around for the next 2.5 quarters? Good luck. And he can completely change the game because he's a different kind of quarterback. Now, again, he's not, Jamel Holloway. That's old school, folks.
Yeah.
85 Oklahoma,
Let's
look
go.
it up. He's not Jamel Holloway. He can throw the ball. He's not strictly a running quarterback, but he can change the whole complexion of a game with his legs. And that's always, so that's a good wild card to have too. I'm basically saying the exact opposite of what I just said 4 minutes ago. Like Jordan Travis is a pretty unique commodity to have on the sidelines too if things aren't going well for your starter. Like, okay, because he's got a little magic to him too when he's healthy. And if your quarterback is struggling because he's not getting the protection he needs, man, it's going to be real tempting after 4 drives where you only score maybe 3 points to say, you know what, make them go chase Jordan Travis around for the rest of the half and see what that looks like. And, again, fascinating, Aslan.
Indeed,
fascinating.
Indeed. Let's go to the next question. It's Mark down in Naples. Wake up, Aslan. Hope you had a great birthday and that Corey got you something special.
What'd you do for your birthday, by the
Corey
way?
To be healthy. I didn't do. I mean, God, this show, just working,
nice.
grinding. I'm probably opening.
Yep, you're grinding.
I'll open a good bottle of wine. Treat myself to a couple glasses before I shut it down. Been getting on a better schedule here, Corey. I'm trying to get into bed before midnight, reading a couple chapters from my book, sleeping, waking up with the birds at 7:30 in the morning, and getting out on the grind. So I'll open one of my good bottles of vino. I think, what's the name of it? Belglaws. It's like a nice
Maybe
Pinot.
invite a lady friend over to enjoy that bottle of wine with you.
Delta's out there, man. Delta's ravaging us, bro. Ravaging us.
Good point.
Bummed that I missed the live show the other night. Had an evening client meeting that I had to cover myself. In retrospect, I should have delegated and attended the live show. My priorities are out of whack. Focus, Mark. He said focus, Mark. He's speaking in the third person. Love it. Lots to do about the quarterback competition. Then I got to thinking, Mike Norvell's offense is run heavy, and he's very good at it. Running backs look solid based on reports from practice. Regardless of who starts a quarterback, we're not expecting 400 yards through the air and 4 touchdowns from either guy. I mean, I'd like it, though. I mean, we can expect it. We don't have the 2013 wideouts. We don't have Nick O'Leary. We need a quarterback who can best manage the run game, make throws when needed, move the chains when plays break down. If Milton starts, you can bet the farm that Notre Dame won't let him sit back there with lots of time to shred them through the air. They'll go after him and our offensive line hard. That's why I'm leaning towards Travis at this point. I think he best fits the scheme we need to beat Notre Dame. Do you agree? Or do you think we'll need heavy doses of both guys to keep Notre Dame from committing to one plan on defense? Thanks, and always, as always, go Noles. I think we'll see an inspired effort on September 5th, regardless of the outcome.
You going to tackle that? You want me to?
I mean, again, I just think if Notre Dame can have their game plan, whatever they want to do. They can try to blitz and shake up and scare Mackenzie Milton if he's the guy that's going to be out there. Like Mackenzie Milton can avoid the pass. He knows how to move up into the pocket. He knows how to climb the pocket. He knows how to scramble away from pressure. He feels it pretty well, and he'll make plays. Like he's not gonna bust off that 57-yard run that Jordan Travis would do every week. It felt like, but I mean, come bring pressure on him, make it a scramble drill. Guys start getting loose in the secondary. He'll throw it up and he'll find a guy. So it's a different way of combating having maybe a porous offensive line, which maybe that's being a little bit greatly exaggerated at this point. I don't think they need both guys to win. They just need one of those guys to play well. I think if you give me the option, like I'll give you both of these guys playing at like a level 7.5 or one of them playing at a level 8.5. I'm like, give me the guy playing at an 8.5 on a scale of 10. I don't believe the need to play two quarterbacks that beat Notre Dame. This ain't 97 Florida, everybody. Come on.
You wonder, though, so we all agree, anyone listening to this agree, that the running game will be better if Jordan Travis is the quarterback. Just because Milton can move, but he's not Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis like having another elite level ball carrier in the backfield. And he ran for 100 yards against Notre Dame last year. So with that in mind, the biggest mismatch I think I don't even know, maybe I shouldn't call it a mismatch yet. The two biggest areas of concern are clearly on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think it'll be much more even when Florida State's on defense. Like I think Florida State's defensive line, especially because Notre Dame is bringing in 5 of their 5 new linemen essentially, that should be much more even than it was a year ago. But Notre Dame's got a really good defensive line, and if you have a quarterback, I just think maybe you limit them a little in what they can do in their pass rush upfield, and you give yourself a better chance to run the ball with Jordan Travis at quarterback. So I wonder if you can name Jordan Travis the starter for Notre Dame, and I know you don't match your starting quarterback depending on who the opponent is, but it just seems like that would be the best way to run against Notre Dame's defensive line is with Jordan Travis at quarterback, because you did it last year, and your offensive line should be better. I don't think healthy Mackenzie Milton is running for 100 yards against Notre Dame last year. It wouldn't happen. Jordan Travis is a unique dude back there, and you might be able to look it up, Aslan. I don't know I think Florida State ran for maybe close to 200 yards in that game, which is a lot. Against a pretty darn good defense. I don't think you could expect to do that with Mackenzie Milton. So do you have Jordan Travis as your starter for one game and then open it back up again because you think he gives you the best chance against that particular opponent, and then you open it back up again in the next couple weeks, and maybe it's somebody completely different against Wake Forest?
153 40 carries, 153, 3.8 yards per carry.
So Travis was the only one. Yeah. Who else? What are the other?
Damian Webb had 13 for 59. Corbin, 2 for 9 yards. Toafili, 3 for 1. But he had a long of 6. So this, I guess, obviously it's net rushing yards.
Right.
James Blackman had negative 9. They had a negative 3 rush as a team. They had a team rush that was given negative 3 yards.
So they lost 12 yards from sacks, right?
Yeah, I guess so, sure.
Probably more than that. Probably more than that, actually, with Travis. I'm sure Travis got sacked a few times. They probably they probably gained close to 190 yards rushing and then lost some because of quarterback sacks. Man, that's a nice little feather to have in your cap that you think you would probably feel pretty confident with that guy back there. You can rush for maybe nearly 200 yards. But do you win the game that way? I don't know. And can you coach through a season like saying, okay, this quarterback is best for us against this team and what they do. This quarterback is best. I mean, that doesn't really happen, does it?
No.
You usually just pick a starting quarterback and try to ride with them.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame's defensive line is going to probably do pretty well against your offensive line. You know that going in. And I'm not saying the offensive line is bad. Notre Dame's defense is just Notre Dame's front is pretty darn good. They got some NFL dudes there, and that might be the biggest area of concern going into that game. And you might compromise Notre Dame's advantage a little bit if you have a quarterback that's tough to defend in the running game. That was way too long an answer. You said we had 9 of these questions?
Yeah, and let's just be honest, man. If you're going to be running read option or RPO stuff, I mean, McKenzie's not quite 2018 DeAndre Francois, but I don't think he's that far from it. I don't know how many times he's going to keep it. I mean, he's running around fine out there, but it's one thing to run around fine with a green jersey, and you're not going to get blown up.
He's not a playmaker with his legs. He's a play extender. He could make a couple first downs maybe. He's not going to rip off a 40-yard run. No. He's not going to rip off a 70-yard run like Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis is capable of flipping the field on one run. McKenzie Milton's not that. He can maybe flip it. He can give you a touchdown on a throw, but after escaping, because he's not slow, he's not a statue, like I said. He's certainly more athletic than what they've had more athletic than Blackman. But yeah, man, it's just if they're going to run the ball, I don't foresee them being able to just line up, hand the ball off to a running back, and run it down Notre Dame's throat. No. That just seems like a pie in the sky type of. But if they do, buddy, put me down for 8 wins easy. If they can run the ball against Notre Dame with McKenzie Milton as the quarterback.
Big Steve-O 22. What's going on, fellas? Recording this podcast, Steve-O.
Yeah, what's up, Steve?
As always, loving the content and the updates. Since you guys have been watching practice this fall, which position group are you seeing the most improvement from? And the group that has been the most consistent? Which practice, in your opinion, has been the best one to watch so far? I think the one that I was able to watch on Thursday that was the best they've looked in a practice, I feel like, especially on 11-on-11 when it mattered. Position group that seen the most improvement from. You probably have to go from the defense, right? Because they're so far from they played so far from what we think their ceiling would be. Maybe that defensive line. I mean, the defensive line has been creating problems for this Florida State offensive line. So I would say them. Maybe people want to throw a defensive back in there, but maybe I'd say defensive back's been the most consistent. Would I say that, Aslan? No. I think the defensive line's both. I mean, they've been every day. They're creating problems for Florida State's offensive line, and they're collapsing the pocket quite quickly. So they've shown the most improvement, and they've been the most consistent to me. Corey, improvement.
I would
consistent.
think the one that has improved the most from the start, really from the spring until now, in my opinion, is receivers. Even like the first couple of days, I'm like, man, they are not good. They are going to struggle. They literally, I think, went over in one of those days on one-on-one drills. It wasn't like 11-on-11. I get that. They weren't being rushed. It was one-on-one with the whole side of the field to work, and those receivers couldn't make any real plays. Not down the field anyway. And now it's gotten to the point where, like you said, they're holding their own more. They're making more tough contested catches. They're making big plays. You feel like Helton's back to what Helton is, which is good. He's got the speed and the quickness. He's going to be a handful for defenses, I think. Pokey's very fast. So you got the two veteran guys that are making plays, and then you got some younger guys coming on. And I think that's a good sign, man. I would have said they were the biggest weakness on the team 2 weeks ago. And now they make enough plays where you start to think, okay, they might actually be decent. They're not going to be incredible, but they could actually be a decent position group. So receivers is my answer to that.
Okay. What about consistent? Most consistent group?
Yeah, I would say what you said, the defensive line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sivo also asks, is there a reason that Norvell's post-practice interviews have been short and brief? Is it to allow more time for players and assistant coaches to do interviews? I don't think he seems frustrated or anything, just they seem shorter than usual. As always, love what you guys do. Go Noles. Thank you, Steve-O. No, it's his Friday one in Jacksonville, and then on Thursday when we spoke to him after practice, every single day there's a schedule they have where we'll get a certain assistant coach and we'll get players. So those days, Friday in Jacksonville and then Thursday here in Tallahassee, it was supposed to be David Johnson in Jacksonville and then Alex Atkins' day here, and we weren't going to get Norvell at all. But he's been gracious enough. When he walks by and he sees all of us, we'll joke with him like, "Hey, coach, let's get you let's get you for a second." Or he'll be talking to the SID guy like, "Hey, I really want to speak to them. Let me, please let me."
Yeah.
So he's having a fun time with it, but he's not even supposed to be on the schedule talking to us. But he's carving out a few times like, "Hey guys, I'll let you ask me 2 or 3 questions. Is that cool?" We're like, "Absolutely." So he'll give us time to ask him 2 or 3 questions, and that's why it seems short. But on the days he's scheduled to talk to us, he's being even more gracious with his time. So, yeah, nothing to read into that one.
So I looked it up. Not that this matters too much in the grand scheme of things. So Jordan Travis in that Notre Dame game was sacked twice for negative 13 yards. Okay. So if you add that to, if you take those away, he rushed 17 times for 109 yards and a touchdown. And the team, if you take away Blackman's sack, rushed for 175 yards. Man, that's good. I don't know how many other teams ran for 175 yards, gained 175 yards rushing like Florida State did against Notre Dame. But that's all of it, because of the weapon that Jordan Travis is and having to account for him on the read.
And then also
I don't know that you're running for a...
Also a cornerback playing with his back to you because he's worried about Tamori and Terry. But, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, sure. But, I mean, that's... running for 113 yards is a 17 for 113, and then LaDamian Webb had 13 for 60. So your two main running backs, and I'll count Travis as a running back in that instance, had they have 30 carries for 170 yards. I mean, you can live with that. Those are good numbers. So. That you would not have done that with McKenzie Milton. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have his own strengths, and maybe he doesn't get sacked on those 2 plays because he gets the ball out quicker. But again, I just don't want people to think that that's normal. Oh yeah, if Jordan runs around a little bit, he'll get 120 yards. I mean, that's not normal. There aren't many colleges in the country that have a guy like that at quarterback. But I don't even know if he's going to play against Notre Dame because he might not be the starter. We'll see.
Daryl, Thomasville, North Carolina. What's up, fellas? Coach Atkins seems to be fired up about our offensive line and how these guys are working and coming together. My question is, we know they haven't looked well over the last 3 years, but at the same time, last year, Coach Atkins had them looking better than any of the past few years. This is a new year, new beginning, full winter workout, full spring with a game, a summer strength and conditioning program, now a full fall workout. These guys have been together for a couple of years now. Coach Norvell has added a transfer to the line of scrimmage that is bringing more confidence. So why can't this offensive line be a lot better than the past 3 years? We haven't seen the starters out there, have we? We don't know who's going to back up those starters and how much they have improved from last year, have we? Listening to Coach Atkins got me thinking this offensive line may be a lot better than most of us think. Just want to get your opinion. Sign up for warchant.com, drink DeLuna coffee, hit the like button. Go Noles, FSU 31, Notre Dame 17.
Okay,
Nice.
All right.
That'd be nice. Yeah, they're still mixing and matching guys up front, so we're not getting to really see them fully unleashed, if you will. But Atkins seemed to be kind of pleased with how his offensive line is coming about. And, yeah, there's plenty of reasons to think why they're going to be better than they've been the last 3 years. A lot of that you've outlined, the time they've had together, and the fact that they didn't look horrible last year. Like they looked horrible for large parts of 2018 and 2019. They had some down moments last season, but they also had competent moments too, and you can say Jordan Travis helped them figure that out. Well, he's still on the team, And if it's the other guy's got a knack of figuring things out as well. So I think they've put challenges before guys like Dante Lucas. He seems to be responding well to it. Atkins said that Maurice Smith has just been really great for them this season. Devontae Love Taylor's a guy that he says just brings everything to the table, grit, determination, leadership. And then Dylan Gibbons has been around a really good program for most of his college career. So I think they'll be fine. I know that sounds crazy because you're all seeing the film that I'm putting up, and they're not looking good, but they're mixing and matching, and they still have 12 days to figure it all out. Just for preseason camp, then they have a whole week of game prep. So, yeah. Phil, they're going to do well.
And also, I think we didn't know this at the time because obviously the world. Well, I was going to say the world was a lot different a year ago. Not really, as it turns out. The world's kind of done a full circle from where it was a year ago, as far as not being there at practice, not being able to watch practice. I mean, we can watch it now, so we have no idea of knowing. That defensive line Florida State had last year was not good. They had a couple of defensive ends that were decent-ish, not really, weren't productive anyway. And then those tackles were either banged up or out of shape or both. And so you wonder what kind of look those offensive linemen were getting in practice. I genuinely think they're getting a better look this year. I know that wasn't Kendo and J-Rob both drafted?
Yes, 4th round.
Yeah, so you went up against 2 draft picks at defensive end last year and a guy that was a preseason All-American. But Marvin just wasn't himself last year, and so I doubt he was much of anything in practice. I just think these guys are getting better looks now. I think that's better competition now. They did not have to deal with their Jermaine Johnson coming off the edge. They didn't. That Cushney kid. I don't know. I shouldn't say kid. He's in his 20s. That Cushney young man. The transfer. I don't know that he's going to be an incredible college football player at Florida State. I know he's got a first step that's hard to deal with. They're getting better looks from quicker defensive ends than they've ever gotten in their college careers, just from those 2 guys. Briggs has been, one of the best players in the camp so far. They're just getting better looks. Cooper's better. Fabian Lovett's been better. All these guys have been better, and I think that makes it the better competition is going to make them should make them more improved as they get ready for the season.
Just a reminder that Josh Kando had a higher Pro Football Focus grade than Jermaine Johnson, and he's in the NFL. And we weren't at practice last year. But I'm sure they're getting better looks. We can say with almost certainty, Corey. Such optimism.
I would
coming
think
from
when you tout something like that, well, I don't know, Jermaine Johnson. If you tout Kando's high PFF grade, to me, I think you think you're making one point. I think the point you're making is we should not take all that seriously, the PFF grades.
No,
we
I'm
watched those games,
that,
Aslan.
I get it, but maybe, I don't know. But the people that grade know more about the stuff than I do. And they think that he played pretty decent.
Maybe. I guess they do. I watched those games. Josh Kando was not a good defensive end. But more to the point, whether he was or wasn't, he was more of a edge setter, right? He wasn't a guy that had a quick. So even if he did his job well setting the edge.
Devontae Love Taylor on his debut of Trench Talk said the toughest guy he's ever gone up against was Josh Kando. He said he's just a different kind of dude.
I guess. Either way, my point being, he wasn't explosive coming off the line of scrimmage. Okay. We could certainly agree on that. Like, you don't go a whole season without a sack with explosive ability coming off the edge. They are having to deal with more quick twitch guys, a whole different type of body type coming off the edge than they did a season ago. So at the very least, that should help the tackles when it comes to pass protection, because they aren't going to face too many guys faster off the ball than Jermaine Johnson. Just not going to happen. So that in itself is good practice for the rest of the season.
Bourbon is your friend, Dave in Kentucky via Florida. Don't we want Notre Dame preparing for both Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton right up until kickoff? Yeah, and that's why they don't want us to talk about this stuff.
Well,
we get it.
Yeah, that's why they won't name, because it does. To me, usually, like, I don't know.
Listen, Brian Kelly's listening to this, Corey. Like, they know what to plan for if we tell them.
No, right. And it would. How crazy is it? Do you think like Notre Dame employs like a GA, a grad assistant, or a quality control guy to listen to podcasts to see if we slip up for any? Are they? Alabama probably does, but are they that anal and detail oriented that you think they listen to podcasts to see what the? And because Florida State's got 1 million podcasts.
We got a guy called Golden Domer Boy, BOI 6969, who's following us now on our YouTube page, so I'm sure that's one of their GAs.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That'd be funny if he's not real clandestine, Golden Domer Boy, but if he's trying to fly under the radar. But yeah, so like in 13, when Jimbo he didn't wait. I think he did it the week of the game, like 4 days out. He named Jameis. I don't think that changes Pitt's. I don't think that changed what Pitt was doing at all. Like they were preparing for Florida State's offense, not for a particular player. That's usually how it is. Like I don't think. Just pick another school. Like I don't think it very much matters in most instances when you name the starting quarterback because the offense is the offense.
Like at
You're
Notre
preparing
Dame,
for the offense.
Notre Dame announcing Jack Cohn last week doesn't really probably affect Florida State's.
Right, you're preparing to get a heavy dose of running backs. That's what you're preparing for, not Jack Cohn throwing it 48 times a game. But 48 times in that game. But with Florida State specifically, I do think it matters a little bit. I think there is going to be some gamesmanship there because if you announce Jordan Travis, I don't know, today, well, okay, that gives them, 2 extra weeks to prepare solely for him. Same thing with Milton because I think they would think the offense is going to be tailored a little bit to both quarterbacks. So, yeah, you want them splitting up time doing Jordan Travis reps. Worrying, imagine having to do scout team with Jordan Travis as the quarterback. You're going to put one of your best runners as the quarterback just to prepare you for that. And then, oh, wait, it's Mackenzie Milton. So we wasted hours preparing for the read with 2 skilled running backs, and now it's the kid that's going to throw the ball a lot. There's a gamesmanship element to it where legitimately he might not announce it until the game.
Dave continues.
Until the first series.
Yeah. Dave continues. It just would seem much more difficult than being able to focus on just one of them, especially given their differing skill sets. So please, no more investigations into their health just to satisfy fan curiosity. Let's keep them guessing until kickoff. You speak for some people, Dave, but I don't think everybody. I think people want to know. But you're right, and we're trying to cooperate. Also, I'd really like to see some formations with Jordan Wilson and Corey Wren paired out wide together. Wilson is so large, he could set a bubble screen all by himself. Imagine Jordan Wilson catching the ball, colliding with a defensive back like Greg Jones on Dexter Reed. 2 freakish athletes creating a pick-your-poison scenario. Hopefully I just didn't tip off the Irish. Dang it. I bet Norvell wanted to keep this formation under wraps. Yeah, you just
Golden Domer Boy heard that. Yeah. He's going to be sending an email back to Kelly. Wren is a guy that you wonder. I'm not.
He's been a
he's
joke.
so
Corey.
fast. What's his role going to be? I can't imagine he's going to stand on the sideline for 12 games.
They've been using him. They've been using him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just wonder what exactly that role would be and how often they use him. But I do think he's got to be a part of the plan moving forward because he is such. He's just a blazer, man. He's the fastest guy on the team.
Through sheer force of will, I've gotten us down to only 3 questions left. Let's see if we can get this in the next 10 minutes. Keep us not too far over an hour of a program. Let's go to Shane in Texas, a.k.a. Kirk Knoll with his Bulldog Zeus. Wake up! Happy belated birthday to the one and only Aslan. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate you. Super short on this one. Who's the one football player or coach from FSU you had the pleasure of interviewing in your career or even just spending time around? Story behind why that person, please. But you didn't ask, you just said who's the one football player or coach from FSU you had the pleasure of interviewing. You didn't, our favorite, I guess he's saying, with the story behind why that person, please. I don't know, Shane.
Yeah, it's got to be that, right? Because we've had the pleasure of interviewing hundreds.
Yeah.
And he said athlete or football player?
He said football player or coach. I haven't ever kicked it with anybody off the record where I'm like, oh, this guy's awesome. I've interacted with all these coaches. It was pretty cool. I mean, I saw all of them down in Tampa back in June when they were doing the satellite camp stuff. So they're all pretty swell guys. It was always cool. It was cool interviewing Bowden, obviously. Everybody's around his.
Well, the answer
golfer,
for you
cool
is
stories,
clearly the answer for you is Devontae Love Taylor.
or Robert Scott. Robert Scott's the man. Robert Scott's my dude.
No. But we have a 30-minute show with Devontae Love Taylor.
Trench talk with.
When is that? When is that, Aslan?
I think it's going to be Sunday again, maybe this week. Although no, they're scrimmaging on Sunday, so probably not. We might be
probably
starting Monday because I think once football season starts, Monday is going to be the day, and they are off this coming Monday, so maybe it will make his triumphant return up Monday. So yeah, Devontae Love Taylor. That's the right answer. Thank you, Corey.
That is the right answer. And my answer would be just from the past. I've said this before. It's until somebody usurps him. It's Terrence Brooks. That guy was just his last year in 13. He just didn't. It's not that he didn't care. He was just honest. He was transparent, and he would tell you. We'd talk to him. He'd say, some of the right. He'd mostly try to say the right things. But then after I turned the recorder off, I remember specifically before the Florida game, because I'd asked him about, like, you remember when Muschamp said we are who they are who we thought we are whatever he said. It was kind of like a Dennis Green one when they ran all over Florida State in 12 for that win, and Muschamp had things to say after that game. And Brooks like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then after I turned the recorder off, I'm like, man, why are they so bad? Shouldn't they have athletes on offense? Because they were 4-7 at the time. Yeah. He goes, man, their receivers are trash. He goes, they're nothing. They got nothing at wide receiver. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, it wouldn't matter who their quarterback is. Their receivers are just trash. Now, he wouldn't say that on the record, clearly. Right. But he'd kick it with you real. And I just always appreciate that. Terrence Brooks was always one of my favorite guys to deal with.
That's a great answer. I like that one, Corey. All right. He also says, see you both 2 weeks from Saturday. Let's go beat Notre Dame. That's right. Don't forget Saturday at the Corner Pocket, 2 p.m. Jeff Cameron, listener appreciation / Warchant subscriber appreciation. Party going down, 2 p.m. Corner Pocket. Look it up. Warpath Noel, wake up. Oh, my God. Every day is closer to the season. Woohoo. Not sure you can answer these. Okay. Does Purdy look fully healed from the collarbone issue from last year? I know you can't say the actual depth chart, but who do you predict will end up being third quarterback? Purdy, ? Won't answer that. That's personnel. I would say that he does look, I don't see any velo issues. I don't see him throwing the ball any worse than he did last season. I don't see him being any more cautious running the ball. So I would say that the collarbone is mended. Corey agrees. Not sure this is something you can tell from watching 11 on 11, but does it seem if Jordan Travis has improved on going through his progressions and reading defenses?
No, the first part of that is right. You can't tell. They get, at least the ones I've watched, the quarterbacks get swallowed up so quickly in some of those 11 on 11 that it's really hard to know how quickly he's going through, if he even has time to go through his progressions. Like I said earlier, it seemed like one day it was just like, hey, if your first read isn't there, tuck it and run. And that was for all of them, not just Travis. That was just for all of them. And, yeah, as far as Chuba goes, I mean, I would I guess we don't want to talk about the depth chart. I think he's been better. That's my personal opinion. I think he's been better than Rodemaker from what I've seen. And I don't see any lingering effects of a bad collarbone. He's also fast, man. I'm telling you, when you get down on that field, because we were able to watch, I think I said this a couple of days ago, we were in the IPF because they moved it in, so we were able to watch from field level. Normally we're up on the baseball concourse, stadium concourse, so we're up a little bit, elevated. When you're down on the field and you're near the first down marker and Chuba is running, that dude can move. He's a fast guy. Anyway, so there's my answer.
Yeah. And last one, Will Knoll D56, wake up. Loving the daily reports. After hearing Corey say it's only FSU and Oregon State who allow access, I am scared for the future. I think we need Gene to secure exclusive practice rights. Make the other guys sit on the bench until it's interview time. What say you? That'd be great. Wow. Couldn't put a price on that. I mean, Jeff Bezos was probably the only guy who could afford that, to be like, hey, we want exclusive practice.
Yeah, we could just monopolize the media coverage and media content for Florida State.
We're trying though. We're not that, but we're just trying to give you folks as much content as you possibly could want. To where you're pretty much hooked up to an IV for like 24 hours every single day.
It's just nonstop.
Yeah.
It's just the YouTube channel. Obviously, the website is doing great. The YouTube channel is doing great. It is a flood of content. And I will say this: like, there are schools, like when Beamer was the coach at Virginia Tech, like they would announce stuff on his website. They controlled everything. They might still do it with Fuente, but I know they did it with Beamer because I followed one of the Virginia Tech writers, and he'd always say, according to Frank Beamer's website, Joe Smith is out this week with a concussion. Like, it's craziness. That's not good for the sport. It's not good for your fan base. So I'm very, very there are other schools that all knew, again, Georgia is shut down completely. Kirby Smart will go a week without talking. I think West Virginia, I'm pretty sure, I think I said this in the spring, they only had their coach talk the entire spring. It's like, man, it almost seems like you're flipping off your fans as if, oh, you'll love us no matter what. You'll be there when we play. You don't need to know anything that's going on, or you don't need to get to know any of the other players and coaches. You don't care who these kids are. You just care about the colors. So the colors on the uniform. So with that being said, you won't get to know any of these players, and you won't get to know any of these coaches, and just show up and cheer for us. And I'm sure there's a section of people listening to this who's like, yeah, sure, right. I think most people like getting this much information and getting this much insight into the program. And I think Norvell's really smart doing that. And so hopefully it's a wave that catches on and more schools will do it. I feel like I have noticed more schools like opening up at least a practice or two, like Ohio State did it a couple of days ago. I know Dabo did it for a couple of days where they're just opening up practice completely. And I hope that's a trend that continues because it's not nuclear secrets. And you do want your fans to know the players and you do want to help your media out. The media that covers you is good for your program. It's good for your program. So you want to help them out, get the message to the fans, and not just rely on the PR that is the university's website. So with that in mind, I will thank Norvell and everybody involved for making that happen.
It is crazy now that we've been able to watch a dozen days nearly of practice, to watch the whole thing. And I in the moment, I don't think of that, but now that we've had the question from Will D. Knoll, and then your response there, like what? Why weren't we allowed to watch this? Why are we not? Why are people in Athens not allowed to do this? Why can't? What's?
Well, in the UGA
bizarre.
one's a good example because they had two guys, starters on the defense, that are probably out at least for the Clemson game with foot injuries. And Kirby Kirby just shut down media access, so nobody was talking at all. But it got out anyway because some boosters were able to watch the practice. They go to the message board, say, "Hey, I saw so and so got hurt." And then it ends up getting out. And then the reporters that are there call their sources, and yeah, that's right, he did get hurt. And so it gets out anyway. And I know there is some sanctity to a practice field. And, Jimbo used to always talk about that. And I don't necessarily disagree. But you can I think Jimbo was rightly worried, maybe it was rightly worried about if he's yelling at his quarterback and telling him he's a big pile of manure, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to see that in the Democrat the next day. There's some stuff, the way he coached, the way kids get coached is pretty tough, and it's not maybe something that should be open for public consumption. But my point always was then, and certainly now, that Norvell's talked to us about this. Not everything has to. It's for our own, knowledge of the team. But there are some stuff, when we talk about players getting in fights, we're not gonna tell you who it is, because that's a practice field thing. We're privileged enough to be able to watch practice. We are not going to then violate that privilege by saying, "Oh, these three kids got in a big scrape." It's really not our business. You know what I mean? That's just a football practice. In the way the world works now, in 2021, if you say, "Oh, so and so and so and so got in a fight," that can become a big deal. In the world of social media and just the way the world is in 2021. So I understand that being a concern, but we're also all adults and we're all pros. And if Norvell says you're allowed to watch every single second of our practice, but do not talk about this, this, and this, well, we owe it to him not to. And we haven't. And nobody has. And that's what you hope, that maybe these other coaches will see that and go, yeah, we can trust these guys. They're not going to burn us. They have no interest in burning us because they love their access. So anyway, their access as far as, getting to watch practice. Not that they would pull our credentials for a game or anything, but it's cool watching practice. So I don't know. Hopefully it's, NFL teams their practices are open. That hasn't seemed to be a big a problem. So hopefully college coaches will start turning that around anyway, just to drum up interest in your sport and your team.
Crazy how that works. All right, we'll be back at practice on Friday morning, so do check out warchant.com for updates and interviews afterwards. I think we'll get Norvell after practice on Friday, but nonetheless, they'll scrimmage on Sunday. We'll do a podcast for you folks on Monday, and in the meantime, don't forget, as always, Jeff Cameron, 1 to 3 p.m. live on our YouTube channel. It's called Warchant TV, and 93.3 FM here in Tallahassee.
And also, Aslan, keep my nose in your thoughts.
Yes. Pray for Corey's olfactory device. For real, though, Corey, man. Man. Sending good vibes your way.
Hey, that's all, Stephanie.
I
can promise you that if she was not in my life, there is zero chance I would have gotten that checked out. And that could have potentially been some bad news a couple years from now if I hadn't. Shout
out to Steph. Way to be. Go Browns. Go Browns. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.